French forces have intervened in the West African nation of Mali, taking back towns seized by Islamist militants. VOA French to Africa reporter Idrissa Fall is in northern Mali, traveling in areas affected by the fighting.
The situation is volatile and many Malians are cut off from food, phone lines and other essentials. I spoke with Idrissa for a first-hand account of the conflict, and he told me that many people welcomed the arrival of the French military. Let's take a look.
In every single city I went in, you will see French flags onto houses, onto cars. You will see kids selling French flags, and even one of them I spoke with in Bamako told me he could make kind of 30,000 CFA, which means around $60 a day, selling French flags. So it's something new. So how people now are behind what France is doing here.
What is the level of fear among the Malian population?
Well, I think, let's say a city like Timbuktu, they were bombing, and people are scared about what may happen next when the ground troops arrive. Because even in Sévaré, where I was yesterday, we've discovered some dead bodies down there. And when we visited a village called the Wahilirde in Sévaré, where you have the cemetery, the people who lived that village told us that it was the Malian soldiers who executed those people accused of being friends of the Islamists.
Idrissa, what's it like being a journalist right now in Mali?
Well, very tough, I can tell you. Very tough, because I arrived in Sévaré last Saturday, and I was lucky enough to be among the first journalists down there. And I was among some of our French journalists. And then the night we received calls from our colleague at the other side of the city telling that they was not allowed to enter the city. So even among them, CNN was returned back to Ségou. And we were inside the city, and we began doing our report. The first thing we discovered was those dead bodies inside Sévaré. And I think some people did not like that report.
And Idrissa, you had your own personal scare while in Mali. You received word that a colleague, a friend of yours, was killed. Can you tell us about what happened?
Well, you know, when I was driving to go to Sévaré, and people called me to give me information, and I think maybe 2 hours or 3 hours before I arrived in Sévaré, I got the first call from somebody I know, I trust. And 1 hour later, I got another call from somebody I know, I trust, most of them from Gao itself. And I was wondering, how did it happen? They gave me, okay, Kader, your friend was killed because of Islamist fear that he was giving information to the French army, and he got killed by this guy I know. He was the one who attacked our stringer in Gao. When I arrived in Gao, I was in this kind of emotional situation. I could not really believe that could happen.
Idrissa, you actually heard from him after you had thought that he had been killed by the extremists, and then you got a call from him. What went through your head when you heard from this friend that you had been thinking for several days had been killed?
This relief, you know, I think there's nothing else you can say. The relief, you know. A heavy burden was on me. I was even crying when I arrived in Sévaré. And to know that Kader was alive, I think it was the best news you could have in the middle of a war.
Finally, just one last question. Why is the situation in Mali, why is what's going on important for the rest of the world?
Well, I think this intervention has to succeed. It has to. If not, everybody heard about what happened last week in Algeria. Everybody knows that the Islamists, they have young kids. They recruited from Niger, from Chad, from Mali, from all those countries in West Africa. And you know, when they cannot fight a conventional battle, I think they can bring instability everywhere. Not only in Mali, but everywhere. It has to succeed.
And our thanks again to VOA's Idrissa Fall reporting to us from Mali.